every system is tested. Every kingdom must face a moment when memory alone is not enough. For Ankole, that moment came sooner than anyone expected. The seasons began to change. The rains, once so faithful, arrived late. Then they stopped coming altogether. The vast grasslands turned brittle and yellow. The wells, sources of life, sank into a dusty silence. The cattle, the living legacy of the kingdom, grew thin, their ribs showing like ripples on a dry riverbed. Whispers slithered through the villages, carried on the hot wind. "The Bachwezi have truly gone," some said. Others muttered, "The Abagabe no longer hear the old wisdom." Fear, once a distant shadow, returned to grip the hearts of the people. And fear is always more dangerous than drought. As the land's resources shrank, the unity of the kingdom cracked under the strain. Farmers, watching their precious crops wither, accused the cattle keepers of letting their hungry herds destroy what little remained. The cattle keepers, desperate for grazing, accused the farmers of blocking the ancient paths their ancestors had walked for generations. Clans that once shared everything now guarded their dwindling supplies. Sacred rituals were questioned, their power doubted. Traditions that had bound them together for centuries were ignored. For the first time in their history, the people of Ankole began to ask a terrifying question. What if the old ways no longer work? The kingdom stood on the very edge of itself, staring into the abyss of collapse. In this time of crisis, the Abagabe gathered in council, but they did not meet in grand palaces or sit on ornate thrones. They gathered beneath the vast, open sky, just as the Bachwezi had once taught them. The Mugabe, the leader of them all, faced an impossible choice. He could protect the cattle, the soul of their culture, but risk losing his people to starvation and conflict. Or he could protect the people, but, in doing so, destroy the herds that defined their entire way of life. Either path led to ruin. The kingdom was trapped. Then, as despair settled, one of the elders remembered something, a piece of wisdom almost lost to time. It was the third instruction, a teaching spoken only in the direst of circumstances. When the land and the people fight, you must change the pattern, not the sides. Inspired by this forgotten wisdom, the Mugabe ordered something radical, something that went against every instinct they had. The great herds were still moved, but no longer in an endless search for grass. Their movements became strategic. Grazing was now rotational, giving sections of the exhausted land time to rest and recover. Farmers and cattle keepers were no longer rivals. They were paired together, their survival now intertwined and shared. Their rituals were transformed. They were no longer just symbolic acts of faith. They became practical schedules, calendars for planting and grazing, systems for managing the land. The people of Ankole didn't realize it yet, but they were practicing science, a deep ecological knowledge cleverly disguised as tradition. The Bachwezi hadn't just left instructions for times of peace and plenty. They had prepared Ankole for the very moment of its collapse. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the land began to heal. Green shoots pushed through the cracked earth. The grass returned. The cattle grew strong again. And most importantly, trust, the fragile bond between people, began to mend. The kingdom of Ankole did not grow stronger because it had immense power or wealth. It survived because it learned to adapt. The Abagabe proved their true purpose was not to be rulers of abundance, but to be guardians during times of scarcity. Ankole had passed its great test, but survival always has a cost. In adapting the old systems, in changing the ancient patterns, something long dormant was disturbed. Deep underground, in places where the vibrations of ritual were never meant to reach, something responded. It wasn't with fire. It wasn't with light. It was with a slow, powerful movement. Join us in the next episode for the sleeping legacy as we discover what the Bachwezi left buried beneath the hills of Ankole. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.